Hiya Hidsters, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome to. Check out the description box below if you'd like a reading with me or to get to know a bit more about what I do. So in this edition of Hermes, or Mercury's transits through the signs, we look now at Hermes or Mercury in Pisces. We are right now in early Pisces season as I film, and this is a time often involving a kind of passive seeing, or like the hanged man in the tarot, a different angle type of seeing. And Pisces season is watching our lives or our experiences as if it were all a film. Mercury in Pisces can bring things like rain, leaks, water problems, and it can have many patterns of a Mercury retrograde. We can have, yes, those dumb, silly-billy moments where we misread numbers or incorrectly input numbers, or we get like important calls from unknown numbers and we may mistake people's faces. There is confusion. And Pisces, which is feminine Jupiter, can be like the man in the field playing a flute. In Pisces season, we speak visually, musically. We escape in things like clay art and molding and poetry and painting and drawing and taking drugs of all kinds. And it can be a season of rapture and rupture, meditative music or meditation in itself, or TikTok talking. And what I mean by that is just kind of getting messages and hints and inspirations from things like a TikTok video or an Instagram mini video. So it's often less words and more images. And Mercury moving out of Aquarius and into Pisces invites many of us to turn off our devices, to stop or reduce social media intake. And Aquarius was already the pouring out of the water. So Pisces is, to me, the most interesting water sign in that it's much more like a season of sleep or silence and the acceptance of things like losses and ends and conclusions. This is the last sign of the zodiac, the last season of the astrological year, and Pisces is the detriment and the fall of Mercury. And I wanted to title then today's video Closing Our Eyes to See. Closing our eyes to see. And this closing our eyes, or this is a kind of blindness or half asleepness, or maybe waking slowly out of a sleep or slowly being lulled into a sleep. It's not just because Mercury, the divine messenger and the trickster, finds itself in the escapist sign of Pisces, but also because around especially February 28th, during this transit, Mercury will join Saturn in a cazimi with the Sun, wherein they are both then privy to the Sun in Pisces' whims. And according to this book by Chris Brennan, let me just see that you can see this. This is Hellenistic Astrology, the study of fate and fortune. But in this thick book, you can find, read that Mercury makes things like philosophers and musicians and dream interpreters, and rules things like hearing. By the way, check out my recent video on Pisces season. I go more in depth on some of the things there with Pisces. But anyway, the glyph for Mercury is the same. So the glyph, the symbol for Mercury itself, is the same as that for Venus, except Mercury has two horns or antennae. And Mercury is like the younger sibling archetype of Venus. And Venus is quite occupied right now, so she may not be able to pull some of us out of like a sticky mud or troubled waters. And Jupiter, hosting this Mercury in Pisces transit, is in Taurus and squaring the current divine dance that Mars and Venus are having over in Aquarius. And this is where I was kind of reminded of Taurian time and the call for patience and to carry more of an attitude of, okay, do what you like, or okay, here's a little something for you, or here's a little bit of love. And it can be very just gentle and steady and unfazed as well in some ways. And this square then, which involves Mars, who is the ruler of squares, with the host of one of Venus's signs, with the host being in one of Venus's signs, I should say, Jupiter and Taurus. All of this is quite dynamic and amplified. I think it's very hard for these square energies to not be playing out for many of us. But anyway, this is going to be about learning a difficult lesson. This is sometimes lessons in love or lessons in war or both, strategy. And the tarot card that I picked for this transit is the Daughter of Cups. Here we are, Daughter of Cups. Isn't she lovely? This is from Kim Krantz's Wild Unknown Tarot. Really beautiful colors there. A little cute duck. Or the Page of Cups traditionally. And in this kind of idea of closing our eyes to see, we are invited to look the other way in some ways. And we are also having, I think, this art of push and pull being highlighted. And it's like how this art may not always be apparent to us when it's needed, but it's kind of like the duckling looking so placid above the water, or a swan, while underneath there's lots of turning and thrashing and thrashing its little legs beneath the water. There's like more than meets the eye with a lot of the situations that a lot of us are in right now. And Pisces season is infamously a messy kind of blah type of season. Also, Mercury is the ruler of attendance, and during this time we may be asked to be attendant to our own struggles and or the struggles of others. And it is really a curious place for Mercury to be, wherein it's less about kind of dishing out unsolicited advice and more about listening or simply being literally there for someone or by someone's bed, or giving situations time to work out rather than pouring over them like a kind of nerdy, hands-on kid with a puzzle. Alrighty, for Pisces rising then, I think for you this is a beautiful, for a lot of you at least, this is beautiful because Mercury has its joy in the first house, and that's where you have Pisces. And there can be a lot of like bright spark ideas about which direction you're going to go now. Or maybe you have this boost in your spirit, or your personality becomes more talkative or extroverted than usual, or you're just getting more buzzy somehow or active somehow, or you're traveling all of a sudden somehow, or you're zipping and diving all around. Health also might be flagged up here, pertaining to things like ears or hearing or circulation or anything else that Mercury is associated with health and body-wise. And this is life as art and art as life, that whole kind of imitation thing with Mercury in your first house. And so many of you might just be kind of swimming and dancing around. I have so many Pisces rising friends who are like this. They're kind of just like swimming through the world, almost bohemian. And this can also be homesickness, or home somehow is on the mind or spirit. And I see also romantic gestures from partners. Aries rising, this is newfound ways of talking. This is your siblings also, neighbors, friends, being highlighted somehow. And things for you could be mysteriously getting better for you. Taurus rising, this is creative ways of investing in your wishes. Children and pets may be highlighted, and you may have some well-meaning contributions to make to something. Gemini rising, Mercury is your life path ruler, so it's a pretty important transit for you. This is new fields, this is new ways of seeing, this is your creativity, possibly somehow being put up there or out there, and it's a good time to visually appeal to people, or perhaps place some sort of visual ad or post up there And home may be calling you for action. So you might have to actually go back home or back to the past in some sense. Mercury, of course, rules journeys and transits. Cancer rising, then, this is letting things break down. Pisces season is a mutable water season, so it can confuse the feck out of a Cancer or Cancer heavy person. This is empathetic learning. There can be a strange sense of optimism for you right now over things like losses or being ready for loss. You know, when you're just kind of like, you're like, just do it to me, or just take what you need to take. Kind of, that can be the feeling for you, Cancer. And this might be relating or communicating in more religious ways or devoted ways or spiritual ways, or also in more ways that are of some kind of strong, high, righteous conviction. Leo rising, this is no longer putting stock into certain things or people, and this is very much the give and take of things being highlighted for you, as this is the 2nd and 8th house axis, which is very busy for you anyway, even without Mercury being there. But yeah, I would say you may be learning about your fears or your anxieties as well. Virgo rising, this is a big one for you, as Mercury is your life path ruler and is transiting your 7th house. So the themes of marriage, partnership, and even animosity are commonly going to be experienced. Your partners might be creative, somehow like getting creative, and also collaborating with others for whatever your calling is or your career could be an excellent move. Libra rising, this is finding hidden ways to fix your problems. Beliefs and higher education may be highlighted, and it's a great time to hire maybe a decorator or a graphic designer, or to pay someone to do something like revamp your CV or put up a website for you, something of that ilk. Scorpio rising, this is children getting creative. Your friends may be highlighted here as well. And I think it's also a nice time for you, Scorpio, to enjoy some idle time or get yourself away and pampered. If you can, have a long weekend off. Sagittarius rising, I'm seeing for some of you a welling up of creativity with Mercury in your 4th house of mysteries and hidden things. Home, house, or family might also be highlighted. There can also be partners coming from the past somehow, or you're reminiscing in some way about the past, and you might have a new or increasingly romantic view of your partner or partners. Maybe you have like rose tinted glasses, just maybe you're not like the typical romantic type Sag, but with Mercury in Pisces, suddenly something gets activated. And yeah, Capricorn rising, this can be messaging or getting back in touch with old friends, siblings, or neighbors. And if you have any subordinates, they are highlighted here during this time. This is also a creative or romantic or indirect way of thinking. Like maybe your way of thinking becomes more like this. This is creative, romantic, indirect talking and expressing. Aquarius rising, this is spending more on your kids and or pets. I guess they're the same, right? Also things like debts and favors may be highlighted. You could be getting inklings or new ideas, Aquarius, about making changes to things like your nutrition or your diet or like your cooking habits. So that's what I have for you, my loves, for this Mercury in Pisces transit. Let us know in the comments where you have Pisces and how are you doing. Have a lovely beginning to the weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.